These uniforms belonged to two Frenchmen, among the last defenders of Hitler's bunker in Berlin. Rare and almost unique, their stitching tells us the story of France's forgotten soldiers, men who joined the crusade against Bolshevism, bound by a dream of a united Europe. Welcome to Fragments of Fascism. June 22nd, 1941. Germany launches Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. The attack was to be the largest military offensive in human history, with around 10 million troops taking part. The war in the East shook the European continent, and Germany's allies rallied to its aid against the spread of Soviet communism. In France, Parti Populaire Français leader Jacques Thoriot urged his followers to join what he saw as Europe's decisive struggle. With approval from Berlin and Marshal Pétain, the Légion des Volontaires Français contre le Bolchevisme, the LVF, was born. Meetings drew thousands. Over 10,000 gathered in Paris to support the cause. But enthusiasm faded when it came to enlistment. Of the 25,000 men hoped for, only around 3,000 were approved. October 1st, 1941. 2,452 Frenchmen enlisted into the Wehrmacht as Infanterie Regiment 638. They wore standard German Feldgrau uniforms featuring the Wehrmachtsadler on the chest, rank collar tabs, and a tricolor crest sewn into the sleeve, a symbol of France's contribution to what they saw as a pan-European cause. Some painted the French flag on their helmets, another tribute to the land for which they fought. Their first taste of combat came near Moscow in December of 1941. Facing the Soviet 32nd Rifle Division at minus 22 degrees Celsius, frostbite was as deadly as Russian bullets. 50 volunteers were killed, 120 wounded, and 200 crippled by frostbite. Throughout 1942, the LVF fought Soviet partisans across Belarus and Western Russia. Losses mounted and morale suffered. By 1943, reorganized under Colonel Edgar Puot, they became the SS Grenadier Division 638, still fighting on despite relentless Soviet pressure. Their last stand came in June 1944 near Bobr, Belarus. 600 Frenchmen, aided by 4 Tiger tanks, held back overwhelming Soviet assaults. They destroyed more than 40 Soviet vehicles in the process. By September 1944, the LVF was fully disbanded. Its battered remnants were absorbed into another organization, one even more infamous in reputation, the Waffen-SS. In 1943, Heinrich Himmler had authorized the creation of a French Waffen-SS unit. Its name was symbolic: Charlemagne, the legendary Frankish emperor now invoked as the patron of a European SS army, and the new Knights of France would once again fight under his banner. Acting on orders from Berlin, General Karl Oberg, head of the SS in occupied France, contacted leading collaborationist figures. Jacques Thoriot, head of the PPF and founding member of the LVF. Joseph Dornan, founder of the French militia, and Fernand de Brinon, the Vichy regime's ambassador to the Reich. Together, they laid the groundwork for this new regiment of French SS volunteers. Vichy's head of government, Pierre Laval, argued the unit should remain purely French. Himmler disagreed. It was to serve the SS, loyal only to the Führer. The Charlemagne Division's uniform followed the standard Waffen-SS pattern: field gray wool tunic, black collar tabs, and the death's head insignia of the SS. Yet on the sleeve, below the Wehrmachtsadler, a small tricolor shield marked its wearer as Französisch, or French, a rare hint to French national pride. On the collar and painted on their helmets, the infamous twin lightning bolt of the SS unmistakably details their place within Himmler's army. This uniform belonged to Waffen-Rottenführer Robert Zola, who fought in Berlin's final defense. Recruitment began across France in 1943. Posters called for men of Aryan blood and without dishonorable conviction. Applicants were weighed, measured, photographed, and ranked by racial category. Ideological lessons replaced religious practice. Individuality gave way to collective identity. Discipline was paramount, and commands were issued only in German. By mid-1944, over 7,000 Frenchmen had enlisted. Commanded by Oberführer Puau and supervised by General Gustav Krukenberg, the unit became the 33rd Waffen-SS Grenadier Division of the SS Charlemagne. Later that summer, the French SS were sent to the Eastern Front to support German units in the Carpathian foothills. They entered combat on the 9th of August and fought continuously for over a week, suffering heavy losses before being withdrawn. By late August, the battalion was virtually destroyed. Of 1,000 men, barely 200 were in fighting condition. The shattered remnants regrouped in September 1944, merging with LVF veterans, militia units, and other French collaborators to form the Charlemagne Brigade. In February 1945, ill-equipped and armed mostly with Panzerfausts, the Charlemagne Brigade faced the might of Rokossovsky's Second Belarusian Front. In 3 days, 2,000 French SS men were lost, but they had destroyed at least 32 Soviet tanks, including a mighty Stalin tank, in the process. By March, the division was again shattered. On the 23rd of April, General Krukenberg received orders from the Führer bunker to form an assault battalion. 320 volunteers formed the Sturmbataillon Charlemagne, the final reinforcements to reach Berlin before the Soviet encirclement was completed. Under General Krukenberg and Obersturmführer Henri Fenet, the Charlemagne fought alongside the SS Nordland Division, destroying over 60 Soviet tanks in close-quarter combat near Belle Allianceplatz and Wilhelmstrasse. Ammunition dwindled. The Red Army closed in. The end was near. On the 30th of April, Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun took their own lives. Fenet and his men fought on until the 2nd of May. They were the last defenders of the Führer bunker. From the Legion of Volunteers to the Charlemagne Battalion, thousands of Frenchmen fought for what they believed to be Europe's best chance of survival against communism. That fight for Europe lives on in the fabric of these uniforms, once worn by a generation of Frenchmen who, amid the chaos of a collapsing world, sought to restore order and purpose to a shattered continent. Within their struggle lay the story of Europe itself, a continent searching for identity, for meaning, and for rebirth through sacrifice. These Frenchmen fought to the very end, not for glory, but for a vision that perished in the ruins of Berlin.